On the morning of June 13, 2008, everything seemed ordinary. Employees arrived at work. Phones rang. Deliveries came and went. Inside a small bottling company in Concord, North Carolina, Donna Barnhardt was sitting behind her desk. She had worked in that office for 18 years. Just a few feet away, a man named Darrell Noles was filling out a job application. He wasn't an employee. He had come hoping to earn a little extra money. For him, it was supposed to be the beginning of something new. Instead, it became the last morning of his life. At around 10 o'clock, a man walked through the front door. He wasn't there to apply for a job. He wasn't there to buy a drink. He came for one thing: money. Within moments, gunshots echoed through the office. Donna Barnhardt was killed. Darrell Noles was killed. The gunman grabbed the cash, walked out the front door, and disappeared. No fingerprints. No confession. No arrest. Days became months. Months became years. The investigation slowly turned into one of North Carolina's oldest cold cases. For nearly 18 years, nobody knew who the killer was. Until investigators uncovered a trail leading nearly 3,000 miles across the United States. I'm Emmy. And tonight, we're reopening one of America's most forgotten cold cases. This is the story of the Sundrop murders. Concord, North Carolina. A quiet city. Safe. Peaceful. The kind of place where violent crime was rare enough to become front-page news. For decades, the Sundrop Bottling Company had been part of that community. People drove past the building every day without giving it a second thought. Inside, Donna Barnhardt had built a career. For 18 years, she had worked as the office manager. She knew every hallway, every desk, every face. To her, Friday, June 13th, felt like any other workday. At almost the same time, a 44-year-old man named Darrell Noles arrived at the building. He wasn't there to visit anyone. He wasn't delivering supplies. He was simply looking for a part-time job. An ordinary decision. One that thousands of people make every single day. He walked into the front office, filled out an application, and waited. Neither Donna nor Darrell had any reason to feel afraid. Then, at approximately 10 a.m., a stranger entered the building. Witnesses would later describe him as a slender black male, between 5'7" and 6 feet tall, wearing a white shirt and blue jeans. Nothing unusual. Nothing that would make someone stop and look twice. He walked calmly into the office. Then, without warning, he pulled out a handgun. The room exploded into chaos. Shots were fired. Donna Barnhardt collapsed behind her desk. Darrell Noles never had the chance to run. The gunman grabbed the money from the office, turned around, and walked back out the same door he had entered only moments before. Employees working elsewhere in the building never heard the attack. It wasn't until later, when someone entered the office, that the horrifying reality became clear. 2 innocent people were dead. The killer had vanished. Within minutes, police officers flooded the Sundrop Bottling Company. The building was sealed off. Detectives searched every room, every hallway, every inch of the office. They collected fingerprints, photographed the scene, and interviewed every employee. Outside, police helicopters circled overhead. K-9 units searched nearby streets. Roadblocks were set up across Concord. Investigators believed the killer couldn't have gone far. But he was already gone. Witnesses remembered seeing a man running from the building, some said carrying a small box. Others remembered the white shirt, the blue jeans, the way he disappeared around a nearby corner. It wasn't much. But it was all detectives had. A few months later, police released a composite sketch. The image appeared on television, in newspapers, across North Carolina. Hundreds of tips came in. Every lead was investigated. Every possibility was checked. One by one, they all disappeared. Weeks became months. Months became years. The murder of Donna Barnhardt and Darrell Noles slowly became what every detective fears. A cold case. For the families, time never moved on. Birthdays came and went. Holidays passed. But one question never changed. Who killed them? And where had he gone? For nearly 18 years, no one had the answer. Or so it seemed. Here is what makes this case so unbelievable. The killer didn't vanish. He didn't leave the country. He didn't change his identity. He wasn't living under a fake name. Instead, he simply moved. Nearly 3,000 miles away. While detectives in North Carolina searched for answers, a man named Steven Talbert was building a new life in Port Angeles, Washington. A quiet coastal city, more than 3,000 miles from Concord. No one there knew his past. No one connected him to the murders back in North Carolina. To everyone around him, he was just another local resident. But there was one detail investigators would later discover. Johnny Talbert wasn't invisible. Not even close. Between November 2011 and May 2026, the Port Angeles Police Department had contact with him approximately 288 times. Think about that for a moment. 288 separate encounters with police. He was arrested 14 different times. 2 of those arrests involved felony charges. His name appeared in reports, police databases, court records, again and again and again. Yet somehow, no one realized the man standing in front of them was wanted in connection with a double murder thousands of miles away. For nearly 18 years, the answer had never truly disappeared. It had simply been waiting, in another state. For years, the Sun-Drop murders never left the detectives' desks. Even when the public stopped talking about the case, the investigation never truly ended. Every few years, the evidence was examined again. New technology appeared. Old files were reopened. Detectives asked themselves the same question. What did we miss? Then, in late 2025, something changed. Investigators decided to take one more look. Not because they had new witnesses. Not because someone confessed. But because modern forensic techniques, including advanced DNA analysis and the cross-referencing of digital records across multiple state databases, could now reveal details that simply didn't exist back in 2008. Piece by piece, old evidence was re-examined. Forgotten leads were reviewed. Small details that once seemed meaningless suddenly began to fit together. And for the first time in nearly 18 years, one name stood out. Steven Talbert. The detectives didn't celebrate. They needed proof. So on May 18, 2026, a team from Concord quietly traveled across the country, more than 3,000 miles, to Port Angeles, Washington. For 3 days they worked alongside local investigators. Watching. Verifying. Collecting every piece of evidence they needed. Then, on the morning of May 21, 2026, the wait was over. Steven Talbert was arrested. There was no chase. No gunfire. No dramatic standoff. After nearly 18 years, the man investigators had been searching for was taken into custody without incident. He was 43 years old. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of robbery with a firearm. Later that same day, detectives made one of the most emotional phone calls of the entire investigation. They called the families of Donna Barnhardt and Darrell Noles. After almost 2 decades, they finally had an answer. When news of the arrest broke, people across Concord asked the same question. How? How does a man connected to a double murder spend nearly 2 decades in plain sight and never get caught? The answer is both simple and deeply uncomfortable. It wasn't because Johnny Talbert was clever. It wasn't because he had resources, or connections, or a plan. It was because of a gap. A gap between two police departments, in two different states, separated by 3,000 miles, that had no reason to share information about a man named Johnny Talbert. In Washington, the Port Angeles Police Department knew him as a local problem. A repeat offender. Someone who kept showing up in their reports. But nothing in their system flagged him as a suspect in an unsolved murder in North Carolina. In North Carolina, investigators had a composite sketch, a description, and 18 years of unanswered questions. But nothing in their investigation had ever pointed them toward a small coastal city in Washington state. And in the space between those two worlds, Johnny Talbert lived his life. What finally closed that gap wasn't luck. It was the quiet, relentless work of detectives who refused to let the case die. Who kept asking questions long after most people had stopped listening. Who believed that somewhere inside those old files, one overlooked connection was still waiting to be found. In late 2025, they found it. On the morning of June 13, 2008, Donna Barnhardt walked into work, just as she had done for nearly 18 years. Darrell Noles walked through the same door, hoping to begin a new chapter in his life. Neither of them knew that morning would become their last. For almost 2 decades, their families lived without answers. The man responsible didn't spend those years running. He spent them living an ordinary life. A life that almost convinced the world he had disappeared forever. But the truth has a strange way of surviving. Even when memories fade. Even when evidence grows old. Because all it takes is one detective who refuses to stop looking. Justice didn't arrive with flashing lights. It arrived with patience. With persistence. And with people who believe that no victim should ever be forgotten. I'm Emmy. And this was another dark case. Stay curious. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next one.